I saw snipers everywhere, like 10 to 12 at first. They were hiding everywhere, and first of all I thought it's going to be a gang war or something. There's something very big going on. And one of the guys said me, go in your apartment and don't come out. 4 or 5 guys were hiding.
Okay.
And they were in a position to fire anytime.
5 of these guys on this one guy who can't even really walk right, break down his door, and then enter his apartment forcibly, shoot him 3 times with a beanbag gun, and then once with a taser, and then twice with an M4 assault rifle. And this is over a matter of about 7 seconds. They just decide to go from non-lethal force to lethal force, and they blow off about half his face. He tries to shield himself, they destroy his hand. I mean, it's a horrific situation.
But the police officer appeared to me to have committed a crime. More than overreaction. They were in a small area. It was one person who had a physical disability, and it was more than 2 or 3 police officers.
On top of that, of course, you can't ignore the racial overtones here. I mean, you have a black man being shot by a white officer who was suspected of racist actions.
This run-in with Coffee at Do Bring Pong occurred in 2010. We now flash forward to 2015. The question is, where are we now? On Monday, April 27, 2015, following the funeral of 25-year-old Freddie Gray earlier that morning, peaceful protests began to turn violent on the streets of Baltimore. Freddie was a black man who had somehow raised the suspicions of policemen nearby 2 weeks prior and was cuffed and put in a van headed toward the station. 45 minutes later, he was near death, having suffered massive spinal injuries. A little more than a week had passed. This was what was made known to the public. Any other information was kept a secret between law enforcement. How could a healthy young man become so close to dying in less than an hour, especially in police custody? Concerns such as this were voiced. However, there was no answer. People took to the streets and demanded the truth. They became angrier and angrier as silence ensued from law enforcement. The silence seemed to confirm their speculations. Protests turned violent. Local businesses were looted and fires were set. The city of Baltimore was declared in a state of emergency. So, think hard and fast. Should the unrest in Baltimore be called a riot, uprising, or disturbance? This is a widely debated issue that has plagued the country, and there has not been a clear answer. What is clear is that this unrest is the result of years and years of black oppression. Despite efforts to end racism, the belief that one race is more superior than another promotes racial inequality. Racism still exists today. One form is through racial profiling. Racial profiling is the use of someone's race or ethnicity as a key factor in determining whether to engage in enforcement. To assume one group of people guilty by default involves discrimination. Discrimination stems from the attitude of hostility against whole groups of people. Often people foster this attitude or hostility or become prejudiced when they feel threatened or jealous of an individual or whole group of people from an ill-conceived general stereotype. Discrimination denies individuals the right to fully participate in a community and feel welcomed. At the same time, respect for human dignity is lost. Where is ethnic disparity found in the United States? Racial profiling has largely victimized African American males. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 1 in every 3 black men can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. The term driving while black, or DWB, is used to describe the practice of law enforcement officials stopping African American drivers without a rational reason. In an interview with Christina Hill, a respected African American lawyer in Michigan, she explains that not only has she represented clients who have been subject to racial discrimination, but she herself has. Christina was in Bloomfield Hills, less than 5 minutes away from her home, when an officer pulled her over. The officer asked if she had been drinking, even though her 3 kids were in the car. She explains in the interview that this is a common occurrence for her and her friends and family.
Not only have I had personal experiences dealing with racial profiling, I don't know any African American friend I've ever talked about racial profiling with who doesn't have some personal story or a story about a member of their family or a close friend.
We need to ask ourselves, where do we go from here? Michelle Obama's May 9th commencement address to Tuskegee College graduates speaks to a predominantly black audience of recent graduates. She addresses the sad reality that racial discrimination and racial profiling exists and affects African American communities on a daily basis. 1. Because here's the thing. The road ahead is not going to be easy. It never is, especially for folks like you and me. 2. The world won't see you in caps and gowns. 3. Instead, they will make assumptions who they think you are based on their limited notion of the world. 4. What folks across the country are dealing with every single day. Those nagging worries that you're going to get stopped or pulled over for absolutely no reason. 5. The realization that no matter how far you rise in life, no matter how hard you work to be a good person, a good parent, a good citizen, for some folks, it will never be enough. 6. And all of that is a heavy burden to carry. It can feel isolating. It can make you feel like your life somehow doesn't matter. 7. And those feelings are playing out in communities like Baltimore and Ferguson and so many others across the country. 8. But those feelings are not an excuse to just throw up our hands and give up. They are not an excuse to lose hope. 9. Channel our frustrations in studying and organizing and banding together. Then we can build ourselves and our communities up. Movements such as Black Lives Matter and Hands Up United work to inform the public of the injustices of the African American population. They demand for the end of police brutality and promotion of civil rights of African Americans. They are a call of action, and people of all races have come together in nonviolent protests to raise attention and show that this issue must be fixed. A government cannot exist without the support of its citizens, and will be forced to listen. Do your part in making the world a better place. Write a letter to your senators and state representatives, encouraging for the development of a bill that would end racial profiling once and for all.